I'm George Boston RHYNES, and this is Boston G.B.R. on YouTube. I'm cutting the clip because Valdosta Daily Times columnist J. Ambrose published in the Valdosta Daily Times today, April the 8th, 2012, comments concerning Trayvon Martin in Stanford, Florida. The headlines in the Times read, "Unfair Reporting on Florida Shooting." And I must say, I know that Mr. Ambrose cannot find anything good to say about our President of the United States of America, and it's been that way for a long, long time. But today I want to talk to you about his article concerning what's going on in Valdosta, Georgia, when it comes to what the citizens hear each and every day. Now, so I want to agree with columnist Ambrose for this once, in that the news media across America is at an all-time low. It is at an all-time low. And I believe it is due in part because, and I heard Representative Tyrone Brooks said this 2 weeks ago over in Twitter, that since the Civil Rights Movement, those who control the media found out that the best way to control the minds of people in our communities is not to report the news. And so if today's news media was alive and in focus and operating like it's doing today, there's a great possibility that there would have never been a civil rights movement in America, because as certain singing groups from the 60s said, the revolution would not be televised. The revolution would not be televised. But I want you to know that YouTubes, blogs, and common everyday rights citizens who are not a part of the major news media outlets is going to keep the American people informed. Back to the point. Columnist Ambrose talked about the shooting and how it was unfair in regards to Mr. Zimmerman shooting of this young black male in Sanford, Florida. It's gonna get better in a minute. Y'all bear with me, because I'm gonna try to drive this home. I'm trying to do it less than 7 minutes. I believe Mr. Ambrose and other reverse patriots and Christians of the day, since the election of Barack Obama, needs to understand something. They need to understand that this is not just about Trayvon Martin. He don't understand living in a black house. He don't know that there are many other Trayvon Martins in America. For instance, by the way, let me add this, that are not reported. And so because they are not reported, you think, Mr. Ambrose, you think, Mr. Limbaugh, you know better, but you just publicize that these are isolated incidents. These are not isolated incidents. The only thing that makes Trayvon Martin case different is that he received the news. Right over in Boston, Georgia, a 20-year-old black man was tased while walking in front of the police station. You don't know nothing about that because your news media and your television and your radio station did not report that. But I went and walked the streets, and I met with the mother, interviewed her for 2 hours, and put it on YouTube. About 20 taser burns on that young black man. And all he was doing was just walk, when he was babysitting his nephew, just walk across in front of the police station. But because he looked suspicious, he ended up getting tased, according to the mother, Sabrina Daniels, from the front and back with the taser by 2 white police officers. The young man was scared for his life. as ordinary black men. And so he took off and started running, and I would too, under the same circumstances. And this young black man was never told why he was arrested until he faced the judge, and even then, they let him out on his own reconnaissance. The people who saw the video of the police tape said that that young man need to get him a lawyer. It even hurt the people who sat there in the police station and watched what was done to that young man. But I was told, I can't bear witness, but I was told that the G.B.R. agent looked at the same video and they saw absolutely nothing wrong with it, and that the police officers, were in their right mind. So the only thing different is that Mr. Samari Taser burns were not reported and did not reach the audience of Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, President Mosteller, and perhaps Edward DuBose, President of the NAACP, or Kevin Maury from the People's Agenda in Atlanta. So there's a great possibility had this case received the same news media coverage, that case just may also have galvanized maybe Rush Limbaugh to come and look at that incident. Because I hear Rush Limbaugh and others criticize Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and others who come to the aid of suffering people across America and say they are doing it to get their name and fame, etc., etc. But why don't they pick up on the humaneness, or the inhumane treatment of human beings? Why don't they report it? Yeah, I hear the conservatives and some Democrats as well going down on the wrong side of history. But I'm 100% sure that America's news media, I'm sad to say it, but you are putting yourself out of business. You are putting yourselves out of business. Newspapers are being closed across America. Newspapers would not go out of business if newspapers would report the news. But the newspapers and television is not telling us the truth. What they are doing, they are placating, they are duplicating the news media of yesteryear. But today, the heartbeat of the black African American experience is being ignored. But I'm here to say to you, as a retired military veteran who served my country for over 20 years, I served my country. I put my life on the line during the Vietnam era, fighting for the rights of others in foreign countries, only to come home to Valdosta to see that we are leading the state of Georgia in jail deaths. We have had 30 jail deaths in Valdosta and leading the state. Yet the Valdosta Daily Times have never done an article that I know of in recent months or years about the jail deaths that is happening in our jail. And even more frightening as well as sickening is, from what I hear, is that the staff up at the medical facility, people with sickle cell anemia, people with high blood pressure, people with other diseases are not getting proper treatment. And yet and still, we act as if though we in a third world nation and nobody seems to care about it. We go to church on Sunday and we'll holler about we love Jesus. We'll say hallelujah and shout on Sunday, but very few pastors, even in this community, will stand up on the side of these suffering people in the jails, in the prisons, who don't get money from Section 3 or Title 6 in this country. Yet we all can sit down and say we love Jesus, we love Muhammad, we love Buddha, we love all of these worthies, but we cannot take our work nor our mission of Jesus outside the four walls of our church. And so I don't go to church. I don't go to church to play a religious game. Jesus did not confine himself to four walls of a church building. Jesus was out in the streets. Jesus went where the people meet. Jesus went where the people was hungry. Jesus went to feed those that are in prison. Jesus went to talk about the children and coming generations of children. Jesus wasn't just concerned about a revival when you just revive the money. It's not about reviving the money from these people's pocket, but it's about bringing about the resurrection of the dead within people's head who are suffering because they can't make ends meet. When you walk around Valdosta and you look at the employment rate among black African Americans, you will find that there's a great disparity in equal employment. This is what Councilman Wright talked about a few days ago before City Council. But they make him to look like he's crazy. No, Councilman Wright is not crazy. Councilman Wright is just tired of being sick and tired of sitting on that council while we have people from the black community don't say nothing to stand up for the suffering black people. Right here on Troop Street, we got some of the worst streets perhaps in the United States of America, but won't nobody address the issues of putting sidewalks to the people on Troop Street. We see gullies, don't have driveways. I stood before our elected officials, and what do? Nothing. And so we are still caught up in a system that is equivalent to the days of old. So what's the need of electing a black man in a black district if he can't stand up for the black and white and right people in his own community? Why is it? So why did James Wright have to request a delay? Because he hadn't read a 165-page document. I'm here to say to you unequivocally. Now you all probably are wondering, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I could have died in Vietnam, I could have died in Kuwait, I could have died in Iran, fighting for this country, but come home and cannot fight for my own black brothers and sisters and my white right po-folk, and I sit here and call myself a follower of Jesus Christ. I will be a liar and the truth is not in me. There come a time when you got to tell the truth, or you might as well go somewhere and sit down. It's just that simple. Now you all are wondering about me. Why am I doing this? Am I crazy? No. I was diagnosed by the United States Armed Forces doctors. In fact, I got the record to the house. I'm slightly above average intelligence. You follow what I'm saying? But my love for you, regardless of what your skin color, regardless of your economic status, regardless of whether you're in Quitman or Douglas or Thomasville, I still care about you. And if I was an elected official, not only would I have done what James Wright did, but I would call a public meeting. Listen, I would call for a public meeting for the citizens to demand respect. I will ask for equal respect even in the way Valdosta City Council dispersed the news on conservative radio stations. They give information to the conservative radio stations, but when it comes down to those who are the majority in the city, they don't get the same information. So I made an open request before the city mayor and council that G95, Fox 97.5 be given the same information by the same people doing a live broadcast just like they give to the other station. Because Jesus said, God said, for I have no respecter of person. And if God have no respecter of person, neither do I. So if you can tell the white and black conservatives about what's going on in this community, then you should bring the same information to the black community, because we are no less than anybody on this planet. In fact, if you check history, we just may be superior to others because we were the builders of the pyramids. We were the ancient sea rovers in which the word admiral came from. And so don't play these games with some of us veterans who have come out of the box of incarceration and indoctrination. It is time now that the people of America wake up to the realities of this life, or we very well are going to succumb by the wickedness and the reverse patriots and the reverse Christians of this dispensation. And we're gonna believe, and our children are going to believe, and they're going to imitate, and they're going to follow the Rush Limbaugh, the Glenn Becks, and the others whose history will, beyond a shadow of a doubt, record as being just like Lester Maddox, Bull Connors, George Wallace, and others on the wrong side of history. And you cannot condemn this black man. You cannot call me wrong. And you cannot call me a hater because I don't hate. You can only call me a speaker of truth because that's what I give you, the truth. I give you the truth because, like me, I want you free. And you can never be free until truth comes. Until truth comes into the hearts and minds of those who seek truth, you will forever be a 2012 plus slave. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Paul, a European to the Galatians, 6 and 7. God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man sow, that shall he also reap. Luke 4:18 reads, and this is the words of Jesus, for the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor, the recovering of sight unto the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, and to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. This is the will of Jesus, and this is my will. I don't go to ceremonies for Jesus. I don't go to ceremonies for Martin Luther King. I don't go to ceremonies for Nat Turner. I don't go to ceremonies for John Brown, a white European who put his life on the line for black folk, when black folk would even put themselves on the line for themselves. And so we realize that there are many white right people. We're not condemning anybody. We got more black folk that are against black folk than white folk. We got more white folk against white folk than they are against, you understand what I'm saying? So make a long story short, it's not about skin color, it's about the righteousness. It's about the righteousness of a human being. And when you say you love Jesus, in closing, if you say that you love Jesus, but you see your young black men filling the jails and prisons, and you can't stand up for them, those that are on probation, you placate and duplicate a Jesus that you apparently do not know. Jesus did not play the game, my friend. Jesus stood up for the weak. Jesus stood up for the widows and the orphans. Jesus stood up for those who were in jail, those who were in prison. That was the life of Jesus. Jesus didn't play the game like we are playing today. We go to church in our three-piece suit to try to imitate and duplicate something that we are not. And so to the Valdosta Daily Times and all American newsmakers, do what you're supposed to do. Report the news, and the newspaper will not die. We have news here that could revive any paper throughout South Georgia. But if we fail to report the news, then you will no longer be used for the betterment of the people you're supposed to represent. Bye-bye, be gone.